Well, that is the key, because the problem is a lot of politicians and a lot of developers steam ahead without actually listening to the voices, to the people they're actually going to try and help, or educate, or fund. So anybody that listens to the voices that need to be listened to has to be a good thing. And that was made in our first session today, at the plenary session, about listening to the learners. And that was made by Marwan Abatani, Palestinian at Al-Quds University, and an extremely important book, and often a point that people forget. I mean, education can be quite an incestuous world, and it looks inside, it doesn't always look outside for the answers. And I hope, sort of the learner's voice will be watching and listening not just to other educationists, teachers and developers and businessmen, but outside the educational community as well, to try and find the solutions. And there are many problems, not least child unemployment, child poverty, that big gender gap that was identified this morning. In Sudan was the example given of how few women are being educated, and which is fundamentally flawed, because if you do the maths, if you do add up the sums, the money you invest in a child's education, you get back. So it's not like investing in a bank, or investing in an ISA, or investing in a fund. You're investing actually in young people, and it's not a gamble, because it's a certainty. You will get that money back if you educate a child. And that's what people and governments and dictators have to remember. And hopefully something like which you all know, but is something that other people perhaps sometimes forget.
And we also have one question, sir. As a journalist, what do you think actually the social media can innovate for the educational system in the future?
Social media? Well, I mean, this is your world. Social media. You inhabit Facebook, you inhabit Twitter, you inhabit MySpace, you inhabit the virtual world. This is up to you to bring your generation together. It's a fabulous opportunity. What I did, I'm not saying I used a slate and a piece of chalk, but it was a long way away from modern learning techniques. But even though you're on Facebook, and I would urge everybody on Facebook to be very careful of using Facebook and what details they put on Facebook, because some of those details could come back to haunt you in 20 years' time when you're a doctor, you're a lawyer, and you're a president, and you're sort of running your own production company. And you don't want all that information out there. So be careful about what you do.
Right.
But if you use it as a tool, then you can share your talents, and you can share your ideas. And then the difficult part is deciding which ideas work, and which ideas work best for certain situations, certain people, certain countries, certain religions. Religion can be a barrier to education as well. I mean, when I was a governor at a primary school, the head of the government said, "Stephen, what do you want from the school?" And I said, "Not very much for a primary school. All I want is for them to leave that primary school at the age of 9, knowing how to read very well, and how to write very well, and how to do their mathematics, the basic sums. That's all I want. Nothing else. And for them to be happy, of course, but just to read, write, and be able to do their sums. Nothing more complicated than that. Forget citizenship, forget all the rest of it. Just do that. And then, once they're really proficient, they can spell properly, they can read properly, they can add up and subtract properly, then use the building blocks to citizenship, whatever directions you want to take them in. But give them lots of choices. But again, and it's strange for Gordon Brown to say it, because it didn't happen when he was Chancellor or Prime Minister for 13 years, that he's just suddenly discovered the value of a good headmaster or headmistress. And what? It's pretty straightforward. It's like business or a country. It'll be well run, and a school. You have a good leader, the rest will follow. Those are my choices. I got 3 sons. One's a top guy in finance, another guy is a staff at college at Camberley, Sandhurst, the greatest training ground in the world, and the third is studying medicine. I chose their schools on the basis of a good headmaster, no other reason. And they both happened to be non-fee paying. I didn't send my children to private education. I sent them to public education because those headmasters were the best people. And disciplined schools, safe schools, where people can learn safely, girls and boys together. So education is very straightforward. And if anybody tries to complicate it, forget it.
So what will be the true or true advice that you will give to learners all around the world?
To learners, pupils, students, you mean? Education isn't everything. Education inside a school isn't everything. What I try to do with my sons and at the school I was governor of is try and create a life for them outside the school, so that you're not just mixing with people inside that classroom. So I try to get them to do sport outside, meeting completely different people from the ages of about 10 to about 19. So you learn to react with a different set of values, a different set of people. And that's all part of the maturing process. So the world doesn't end at that classroom door or the school gate. Your visions are bigger immediately. That's, I think, good advice for a child or a learner. But also read everything you can. Everything. Okay? If you don't like the look of it, read it anyway. You'll get something from it. A magazine, a book, and watch no television whatsoever.
Okay. Thank you very much.